Since you hit play on Wife Teacher Mommy, the podcast today, I want to make sure that you know that our free self-love challenge is happening in February 2024 right here on the podcast. The goal of this challenge is to make creating an intentional practice of self-love even easier than ever simply by plugging in your earbuds and listening for about 10 minutes per day. But for the full experience, you're going to want to get the scorecard so you can enter the giveaways, get the daily journal prompts sent to your inbox, and join us for the live wrap-up podcast recording. Yes, you get to join me in the studio and record the podcast together live. It is all free. Go to wifeteachermommy.com/self-love challenge to sign up. Again, it is completely free. You'll get a daily reminder with the free 10-minute coaching each day and your journal prompt, and you will see a transformation over these 14 days. It is not only going to impact your relationship with yourself, but as I'll teach during the challenge, it is going to impact every single other relationship you have in your life, your relationship with other people, your relationship with teaching. That energy is going to impact every single other aspect of your life. So sign up at wifeteachermommy.com/self-love challenge. It's free. Now let's get to the episode. You are listening to episode number 55 of Wife Teacher Mommy, the podcast, the 3 learning styles you need to know if you teach kids, with Richie Soares from Homeschool and Humor. Just like we all have our own teaching styles, children have their own learning styles too. So whether you homeschool like Richie or you're an elementary teacher in a school setting, you'll walk away learning how to identify these learning styles in the children you teach and how it can help you inform your instruction. Glad you're here listening to Wife Teacher Mommy, the podcast today. I'm your host, Kelsey Sorensen, a former elementary teacher turned homeschool mom. Whether you are a teacher or a homeschool parent, my goal at Wife Teacher Mommy is to provide you with both teaching ideas and mindset tools to help you live your absolute best teacher life. Be sure to hit subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss an episode. Now let's go. It is a wonderful day today because I get to talk to you. I always love talking to you on the podcast. So thankful for you for being here. Now, I am so excited to dive into today's topic of learning styles. It's going to be such a great topic, and we're going to learn how to identify them, how it can inform our instruction. And I love that we get to hear about this from a perspective of a homeschool parent, because I feel like all of us can learn from this. We can learn how we can do it, whether we're a teacher in a classroom or, we're a parent and we are working with our own children, whether we homeschool them or we just, we have our own kids and we send them to school and we teach, or whatever our situation is, we're all working with children and we can all find different ways to identify their learning styles and inform and just become more aware of the ways we teach. And even if you know the learning styles already, this will be a great way to kind of review it and maybe see it from a different perspective. And I'm so excited to have Richie on the show today. She is a homeschool mom, like I mentioned, and she is actually the host of the Homeschool Mom Summit, which I was invited to present at and actually to sponsor the event. And I'm very excited to be part of it. And we are going to have some fun things in store for all of the attendees of the event. So if you're there, you'll get to hear about those. If you are a homeschool mom or you're a parent who supplements education at home, I highly recommend attending this event. It's free. So I'll put the link in the show notes. I will be presenting about owning your wins and how to teach social emotional learning. Both topics that I just love talking about. And there are lots of other amazing presenters too, so don't miss out on this opportunity. Now, also, before we start, I also wanted to tease a little bit that we have a big sale coming up. If you're listening to this live on January 13th, 2023, we have something big coming on January 18th. And that's all I'm going to say because a lot of people might be listening to this later. But if you're listening live, definitely stay tuned to your email if you're on our email list. And we've got something really big to celebrate that we have added 731 resources. Not so many resources we added in 2022. We're very proud and excited about that. I'm proud of my team. They've worked so hard over the last year. Okay, so again, today we'll be talking about learning styles. I'm going to introduce Richie to you now so you can kind of get to know her a little bit before we dive into this conversation. So here is a little bit about her. So she is a homeschool mom of 3 kiddos, Daniel who's 12, Zoe who's 11, and Scout who's 4. She's like a homeschool version of a Starbucks coffee drink, a free-range Charlotte Mason inspired unschool life learner with a shot of tech. She's a single mom too, so she knows how to prioritize tasks with a purpose and really manage the things that need to be done while also saving time for the fun stuff, which includes one-on-one quality time with her children. She's the owner and creator of Homeschool and Humor, where she shares these kinds of learning tips along with many other goodies there. Homeschool and Humor is a place for homeschool moms to go to for resources and information about all things homeschool, and she keeps it real over there. She is a serial summiter, her fancy way of saying that she's a hostess when she creates and hosts homeschool mom summits, like the one I mentioned that we're doing in January that I'm part of. So excited. And you can usually catch when the next summit is by going to her site at homeschoolmomsummits.com. So even if you're listening to this after the January one we mentioned is over, go to that URL and you should be able to find the current summit. She is a devoted Christian and has given her life and her kids' lives to Christ. She follows God's direction for her life, and he absolutely leads the way for her. In fact, that's her number one priority this year, being as obedient as possible, no matter how crazy or unexplainable the instruction may be. You can usually find her at Homeschool and Humor Tribe Facebook group, as well as on her YouTube channel, her Facebook page, and Instagram. And every now and again, she'll make a presence on Pinterest and Twitter too, though she's definitely loving that TikTok nowadays. So check that out if you're into the not dancing yet still entertaining short videos. Now, let's get to this interview so we can learn about learning styles and how you can discover them with the children you teach and use them to inform your instruction. Let's go. Hey, everybody. I'm so excited to have Richie Soares here with me today for our podcast interview all about learning styles. Richie, can you introduce yourself to our listeners?
Sure. Hey, guys. I am Richie Soares, the owner and creator of Homeschool and Humor and Homeschool Mom Summits. And I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for letting me join you on this podcast. I'm a homeschool mom of 3 kiddos. Daniel's 12, Zoe's 11, and Scout's 4. I relate our homeschool a lot like a homeschool version of a Starbucks coffee drink. So we're a free range Charlotte Mason inspired unschool life learner with a shot of tech. So that's how I describe our homeschool.
I love how you describe it. I can perfectly picture it.
Yeah, so it's kind of a fun way to describe that you're eclectic. So I'm also a single mom too, going on year 2 now. So I know how to prioritize tasks with purpose behind them and reap the satisfaction of checking off the lists while also saving time for the fun stuff, which is like the one-on-one quality time with my kids, which I think is just so important. And like I said, I'm also the owner and creator of Homeschool and Humor, where I share productivity kinds of learning tips along with many other kinds of intriguing topics over there. Homeschool and Humor is a place for homeschool moms to go to for resources and information, just about all things homeschool. And I like to keep things real over there, and that's why it's named Homeschool and Humor. On top of the Homeschool and Humor blog, I'm starting a new podcast and a site called Homeschool Blogger Talk.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. I'll have to have you on my show.
Oh, I'd love to be on your show, and I can't wait to listen.
Oh, great. It's a place for homeschool bloggers to find that disconnect that they might be feeling, it's where they can level and scale up to that next step. Just through my event coordinations over the years, because I've managed online summits and bundles and events for a few years now, I've gotten a front row seat to homeschool bloggers in their business, and I just love helping them, which is why Homeschool Blogger Talk is about to exist. Well, it actually kind of does, minus the podcast part, but it will in a matter of weeks. Well, before I even started homeschooling, I worked as quote unquote real job, I guess you can say. I worked out there in the world as a regional sales and marketing director for these multi-million dollar hotels like Marriott's and La Quintas and Wyndham's, Hilton's, that kind of thing. So alongside the sales and marketing part for those hotels, I also managed a huge conference center for 8 years where people would, throw huge events and reunions and weddings and, large things like that. So my skills with that actually kind of carried over to like the online sphere. And now I'm hosting summits virtually for homeschool moms, which one's coming up in January 23rd called Homeschool Mom Summit Winter Refresh Edition. Oh, and I can't end my about me part without mentioning I am a devoted Christian and have given my life and my kids' lives to Christ. And I follow God's direction for my life as best as I can, as he absolutely leads the way for me, kind of like a Jesus take the wheel style. So he is like my number one priority this year is just to be as obedient as possible, no matter how crazy or unexplainable the instruction may be, just to, listen and just do it, which is kind of like where the homeschool summit fell into place too.
I love that. I love how you kind of take in that leap of faith with the homeschool summits too, right? And you're just like, it's all going to work out. Like,
Well, honestly, it's like God, like a child saying, "Hey, mama, 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 mama," and that's what it feels like whenever I'm procrastinating or dragging my feet about doing something that I absolutely know God is really wanting me to do. So, and that's what happened with this summit too. I waited till the ultimate last minute to even start preparing it, but I knew I had to do it.
sometimes we just have this feeling that something is what we're meant to do and we don't know how to do it, but we trust in Jesus or our own intuition and we just go forward and we do it. And it's great. And we just have faith that it's all going to work out because it's what's meant to happen. So I'm really glad that you are doing it because I'm excited to be a part of your homeschool mom summit. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes, I'm so excited that you're with us too. There's like 50 speakers and there's going to be around 80 workshops. So it's going to be super exciting. And I'm really happy that you joined us too. I can't wait for everything to just like let loose.
Yeah, me too. And speaking of, so I was looking through your blog because you mentioned all these things you do, and you have your blog and you have these summits, and I didn't even know all your background about doing those events. Like, you give us just such a thorough intro. Learned so much about you. I love it. So I was looking through your blog for topics that I think our listeners would love, and I came across learning styles. And we haven't talked about this yet on the podcast, but I think they're so important too. So I thought it would be a great topic to talk about. So can you tell us, though, a bit about why you think learning styles are important to know if you're teaching children?
Wow, if someone had told me about learning styles before I started year one of homeschooling, it would have definitely helped my worry and stress levels that year. Because they were through the roof that first year of homeschooling. I'm not gonna lie. I was trying to teach things to my kids, and they just were not getting it that whole year. And I was blaming the public school system that entire year for not teaching them anything, and they were understanding it. Well, actually, really, my son just wasn't really understanding, like grasping some things, or actually a lot of things that year, especially math. So had I known about learning styles, even just a little bit, I would have then known that there were other ways to teach my kids the ways that they learn best.
Yeah. So how did you discover your kids' learning styles? And I think you mentioned in your blog post that you learned the hard way.
Yes, I did. So, going back to my son Daniel, when we started homeschooling that whole year, my whole first year, for some reason, he just could not understand regrouping in math. Just for the life of him. And I was really, I tried to just teach him. And I think even like there were some days I was like, I don't understand why you just don't get it. Like it was my first year homeschooling and I was just stressed and I didn't want to get behind and I, felt like a failure and I just didn't know what I was doing wrong or why couldn't he just understand it. And then I ended up that year just closing the book and just saying, you know what, we're just going to take a break. Like it was summertime by then and we'll just pick this back up whenever we start school again. And so I did. So when I opened up the book back up a few months later and I gave Daniel the same problems that he ended with, he literally just like zipped right through it. Um, and this is why, because during that first year, we had all these cute little math manipulatives, and I had all these cool clocks. I had the hundreds flat and the 10 rods, and we were making laminated houses and all those fun hands-on kind of stuff. And Daniel still wasn't getting it. And so whenever we restarted that next year, I just gave him that sheet of paper and he zipped right through it. And I just didn't understand why. And it turns out it's because he doesn't do well with all those math manipulatives. And I was thinking every kid does well with math manipulatives. And so Daniel started zipping right through it. And now right behind Daniel is Zoe. So I started giving her worksheets, figuring if that was Daniel's way, then it's going to be Zoe's way. And she could not get it with the worksheets like Daniel did. And sure enough, she was the one that liked the math manipulatives. And so it was that really hard way to learn that the kids learn differently. That was a hard lesson to learn. But once it did, I really did just see just clarity, and I saw things in a whole new light, like a whole new set of eyes with my kids and how they learn, and then how I can present that information to them to help them understand the concepts and moving on from then on. It just became just a whole lot easier when I understood about learning styles and the way they understand the concepts I teach.
Yeah, and I love that because you learned by doing and you saw like for yourself, like with your children, with Daniel needing the worksheets rather than manipulatives, and then Zoe needing the other way around. She needed those manipulatives. And as we learn as homeschool moms or as teachers in a classroom, all of the kids that we teach learn differently. So it's really eye-opening when we kind of get to notice how each child learns. So when you learned that, what did you do after that?
Oh, we became eclectic. So we became that Starbucks drink. The homeschool version of that Starbucks drink. So I started really seeing curriculum with the new set of eyes. Like I said, I could determine if curriculum or resources were a good fit for my son and daughter at that point, because once I understood the learning styles, everything kind of pieced together, the gaps, the holes that I was missing, that I didn't know I was missing, but I was missing that first year. It all kind of came together once I learned the learning styles myself. So um, my son and daughter, just depending on how they learn and how the curriculum is set up to teach them the concepts, is where and when I found the resources in the curriculum, to help them. So I began seeing that I could actually customize their learning process. And then because of that, I can personalize their entire homeschool, which they're in education. And it's a really profound, it's almost like an epiphany. It's like a profound realization when you have that power to personalize their entire homeschool, like their education, and just completely customize it to how they learn best. Once you realize that, it's more just like I don't know, it's like almost an emotional moment because you realize you can actually really make things better for your kids in a way that they understand, and it's actually in a way that public schools, they can't really take the time to customize things like that. If you don't understand something, unfortunately, you'll just have to be left behind or get tutored because they have to move on. So with your homeschool, you can do things like that. You can piece together curriculums so that it fits the learning styles of your kids, which is what I started to do. I started piecing together curriculums to round it out the best way that they learn, which is, I like to do YouTube videos for grammar instead of the worksheets, and then just basic worksheets for math with all those cutesy colors or super cool interactive videos. So that's what we started to do. We started to adapt our education, our school, with how they learned, and that made all the difference.
I love that because that's one of the reasons I love homeschool, because as you know, I mentioned we do it too. So I have an 8-year-old boy and a 6-year-old girl and then a 3-year-old boy, which so mainly we're working with our older two, but I love how we're able to customize it, like not only to their learning styles, but even their interests. Like, we can do, like, my son is really into Pokemon, and we can have him write about Pokemon or whatever. So it's really fun. I love being able to customize their learning. So, kind of on that, mainly what we're talking about today is the learning styles. So, what are the 3 common learning styles that you focus on in your homeschool?
Well, there are a few different versions of learning styles out there whenever I was doing my own research, but I am a huge fan of the KISS method, which is keep it silly, simple. Actually, I think it's really keep it stupid simple, but I cringe at that word, stupid. So it's now silly. So keep it silly simple. Or I guess it could be keep it simple, silly. So I use the KISS method. So I try to keep things really simple. So anyway, so focus on 3 instead of like 4 or 5 or 6 or however many versions are out there. So the 3 ones are visual, auditory, and kinesthetic learning, which is hands-on learning. Visual is more of you have to see it in order to understand it, and then auditory is kind of like a visual, but you can hear how it is to understand it. And then kinesthetic is hands-on, like the math manipulatives you were talking about. They learn better with the hands-on activities. So now even though that there are 3 learning styles, your kids are going to have a little bit of each one. So it's not ever going to be solely a hands-on learner, like 100%. And it's not ever even going to be like just a little bit of visual and then 99% of hands-on. It's not going to be like that. But even though there is going to be one dominant learning style for your child, there's going to be still a little bit of each one sprinkled in with your child. But there's still going to be one dominant one. So whether it's visual, audio, or hands-on.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that it's not ever their 100% one style because, as you know, kids, they don't really fit into a box like ever. Every child is unique. And especially for our teachers who are listening and they maybe have like 30 kids in their classroom, they can see that like all of their students learn differently. So when you're homeschooling, and you can really get to know your kids on such an even deeper level too. Are you enjoying this episode of the podcast? If so, you will love the life coaching program inside Wife Teacher Mommy Club. You will get to join us in 2 to 3 live group coaching calls on Zoom every single month. We'll pick a new topic for a workshop for our first call every month, and then have an open call or 2 where members can bring their own questions. Every call will be available for replay on the members-only private podcast, so you can get more coaching via on-the-go podcast form just like this. Plus, you will have access to our Ask a Coach page where you can submit your own questions anytime for all your teacher struggles, big or small. The life coaching alone is worth the small $29.99 a month fee. I promise you won't find life coaching for this price anywhere else. Plus, you'll get access to our entire teaching resource library of over $4,000 worth of resources and growing every single month. Go to teachyourlifecoaching.com to learn more about the life coaching inside the club. So how do you use these learning styles to inform your choices in what you do when you teach your kids?
It's pretty much the basis of my decision making now. Now that I know how they learn, it helps me know how to deliver this information to them. So I try to use curriculum that delivers alongside their styles and aligns with the way they learn. But, just like you said, with all the kids, not all curriculums are created equal either. So that's where I start piecing together a curriculum, or where I kind of pivot there. So you can look and find curriculum out there that aligns with a certain learning style, and a lot of them will tell you what learning style they're aligned with. So if you start paying attention to that, you'll start understanding which curriculum your child will, be best using. Like I said, with the math worksheets, I know not to spend money on an online math curriculum because my son thrives on those basic, just simple worksheets. I mean, he requests them. He prefers to write out the problems and put pencil to paper, which is what I think how you should do math anyway, but I'm from the old school. Knowing their learning styles saves me money and definitely stress. I'm not going like over and over the concepts again like I did on year 1. And I'm not going over the lessons thinking I'm just going cuckoo, thinking I'm a huge failure because my kid still doesn't understand the concepts yet. So which is exactly what I thought on my first year homeschooling, that I was failing. I couldn't teach my kids, squat. They weren't understanding me. But now I know how to teach it to them, whether it be like in a song that's fun and easy to memorize, which is how I taught them about coins and money, or through hands-on stuff like interactive notebooks or games, which games are a super effective way for teaching concepts, especially math games or those memorization games like spelling games. Even apps, you can get that that fun interactive kind of way to like that game effectiveness. Either it's with the curriculum or it's a standalone app. Those are great resources to teach kids stuff like spelling. So, learning styles are just kind of funny. Like I said, my son just can't do interactive math videos, but he loves doing those spelling games on his tablet. So I just know how to piece together my homeschool. And instead of just wasting time and money and fretting and getting more gray hair about how to teach them and, what to teach them, I know exactly what to do because they're learning styles. And so I deliver it to them. I get the curriculum that aligns with their learning styles. And we do homeschool like that. And, it's an easy day.
I love that, how you're able to kind of take what you know about your children's learning styles, and that's what you use kind of as you plan, and the activities you pick and the games and everything that you just mentioned. So I think that's a really smart way for anybody who homeschools their kids to figure out their learning styles for their children. And even if you're one of our teachers in the classroom listening, while it may be a little more challenging with more children and where you're not with them every single moment of the day, like one on one, you can still tap into all of us as teachers. We know we really do get to know our students, and you can identify their learning styles, especially if they're a student who's not quite getting the concept. You can kind of say, hey, what is this child's learning style? Maybe I need to pull them into a small group and teach it this other way. So, this is definitely useful content for all of our listeners. So, I love this. How can our listeners find out about the learning styles of the children that they teach?
Oh, I have a blog post on my site, Homeschool and Humor, which is homeschoolandhumor.com, that explains each learning style pretty thoroughly in more detail, from what each one is, all the way to which curriculums would be best suited for each type of learner. And then I also have a learning styles quiz set up, which is at either the bottom or the top of that same blog post, and it links to another blog post, and it has that learning styles quiz. I think you answer just like 10 questions, and according to your answers, it's going to tell you which one is the dominant learning style for your child. So they can learn more about learning styles at the blog post, and they can take the quiz to see what kind of learning style their child has. And this will help them become better equipped with making costly decisions, costly as not just financially, but timely too, because you don't want to spend so much time, unnecessary time, struggling to teach concepts to your kids, like my mistake on year one. If you think about it, it's just a lot of time you'll spend that could have been spent elsewhere when, I almost want to say wasting time, but it's not wasting time, but your time will be better spent when you know their learning style. So it's going to just save you a lot of time and money when you know their learning style. So you can find out a lot more about that at the blog post and at the learning styles quiz. But you can also download the freebie at the blog post, which just kind of helps you narrow down which learning style your child is, and just kind of helps you understand which learning styles might best fit your child.
I love that. And we will link to that blog post and the quiz and all of those links in the show notes so that our listeners can find it. So make sure to check that out for those links. And so, Richie, you're also hosting, we mentioned this before, but I want to talk a little bit more about it, the Homeschool Mom Summit that's happening this month on starting January 23rd. And I'm so excited and honored that you invited me to present at and sponsor the event. So, can you tell us a little bit about what's to come in the summit and why our listeners should join us at the summit?
Yes, I am so excited about it. I just love the idea behind this summit, the theme for it. And I'm super happy that you partnered with us at Homeschool Mom Summits too. So we're really honored too that you joined us. It's so exciting seeing the summit come together from ideation to just execution, really. And I think it's the whole planning of it that I love about it, because I'm a total planning nerd. I geek out if I see a spreadsheet. No joke. I can spend all my time just planning. But eventually I realize I kind of need to start doing those things I plan too. So speaking of planning, that's the summit theme itself. Actually, it's about productivity for your homeschool. And it's always stuck with me, this quote: if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And that couldn't be truer, really. You don't know where you're going or if you've met your goals if you don't plan to get there. And that goes to homeschool too. So, I mean, it goes into anything, it goes with anything in life, but it definitely goes with homeschooling too. So, we each have a goal or goals in our homeschool, whether it's a general overall homeschool goal or a more selective goal for each child. Like, for instance, we might want to beef up a child's writing, for example. So, that would be a goal. And you would determine that if to how to beef it up if you have them maybe write 3 essays. That progressiveness each time, that could be how you measure their progress. And so your plan to hit those goals would be the little things that you do to get to that goal, which could be implemented a lot more. You could implement a lot more writing in your homeschool lessons, to hit that writing goal. And this could be done like doing math notes when you're teaching, or writing out your sentences for spelling words. And I personally have my kids taking notes in their interactive notebooks for a lot of their subjects, so that they're not just practicing their writing, but also their penmanship. So that's exactly what I did to beef up our writing. It was one of our goals. So the summit will help homeschool moms with their goals too. And I'm so excited about it, because that ends up being it goes back to one of the core, what is my word? It ends up being one of the questions that's most often asked, is how to plan your homeschool, how to teach multiple kids, how do you do it? How do you fit it all in one day? And how do you still have time for the fun stuff? So this is what this Homeschool Mom Summit is all about. It's going to answer all the questions that homeschool moms have, and more that they didn't know that they have, but they do have. So we have 5 categories in this summit. The first one is about planning and productivity, like planning your homeschool, organizing it, scheduling your lessons, homeschooling multiple kids or babies. And then we have resources and curriculum, like lesson planning or curriculum selection, or how to teach certain subjects and so on. Then the third category is how to homeschool, which addresses different homeschool styles or methods of homeschooling, or gives insightful tips on how to homeschool from our speakers. And then the fourth category in the summit is encouragement for moms and faith. So it's a category that we added because no matter what you do to organize and plan your homeschool, faith is still going to be important, as well as self-care. So moms need to be sure they're still scheduling time for themselves, for that mommy time, as well as not being too busy for God. Homeschooling has its ups and downs. We all know that. It's not always clear skies. So this category is set to completely encourage and inspire homeschool moms, help refuel them. And it's always encouraging to hear others' experiences and how they overcame certain obstacles. So I think this category is truly going to be one of a kind, especially since I already got the sneak peek of the workshops inside. And let me tell you, they are jaw-dropping, incredible. I am just so awed with all the workshops on all the categories, but particularly the encouragement for mom one. You just won't believe just how awesome these workshops are. I mean, the speakers really did bring it. They brought their A game. And the last category is a wild card category. And this category is just more like a random fun topic category. It's just more like unique finds and creative solutions that the speakers of this category have discovered from their own experiences, and they're sharing it with the homeschool moms in the summit. So I really like that wild card category too, because it's more like almost like a junk drawer in a way. It's kind of what I called it earlier today to a friend. It's like a junk drawer for the summit, but it has not junk in it. It has like just some random, super unique, insightful topics in there that you just pretty much won't get anywhere else. So I really like the topics in the wild card category. We have about 50 speakers and 20 sponsors, and we're looking at about 80 workshops right now. So that's not all that we have for the summit either. And you can start registering for it right now. It begins January 23rd through the 27th, but you can register for it right now. We also have, though, a little kind of fun side surprise in there too. We have business workshops in our exclusive in demand category. So this category is filled with business tips for the moms who are currently business owners, or maybe it's their desire to be one. Like maybe you want to start a homeschool blog, or you want to start an Etsy shop, or you want to start putting things on Teachers Pay Teachers. We have this business category included when attendees upgrade to the lifetime VIP pass. They'll get access to all these workshops plus the business workshops too. And that'll help them get started with starting a business or starting a blog or maintaining one if they already have one. But the lifetime VIP pass, like I mentioned, they'll also have a private podcast of all the workshops in there, and almost like $3,000 in premium VIP bonuses donated by the speakers and sponsors. So these aren't like airy fairy freebies in there either. These are true high quality, full blown homeschool products that are worth at least a minimum of $15 each. And I saw one in there that was worth $250 from a speaker that donated it for free.
Yeah, and we are donating our 36 weeks of social emotional learning curriculum to that VIP pass, and those are worth, I know, at least $40 per grade level, and we put all of our grade levels in there so that you all have the option. So yeah, lots of good stuff in there. It's like a full year curriculum from us.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. See, that's what I'm saying right there. Just everything about this summit, every element, every area just seems to just not just meet the requirements, but go above and beyond, um, just to make sure every area of the summit meets any kind of need out there for the homeschool mom, you know? I think it's just going to be awesome. So with the VIP pass, you get the private podcast, access to all 80 workshops, access to all the business workshops. Then you get lifetime access to everything. You also get like a summit notebook that just kind of like breaks down the workshop topics a little bit more so that you can make it more actionable. And then we have, like I said, almost $3,000 worth of VIP bonuses, homeschool products, absolutely free, well, not free, but it's included in the VIP pass at no cost. So the Homeschool Mom Summit Winter Refresh Edition, it's going to be one homeschool summit that I don't think anybody can afford to miss, especially if you need some kind of creative productivity and planning solutions and tips for your own homeschool. This is the place that this was the place to be for that winter reboot after the holidays and for that transition.
Yes, I can't wait. I'm so excited to be part of the event and to consume some of the content in the event. It sounds incredible. And I commend you for doing such a good job and putting together such a thorough summit. And I can't wait to see all the results of your hard work. It's going to be incredible. So, where can our listeners find you to connect with you online?
You can usually find me at our Homeschool and Humor Tribe Facebook group, as well as on my YouTube channel. You can find me on my Facebook page and Instagram, and every now and then I'll make an appearance on Pinterest and Twitter, But, I'm definitely loving that TikTok nowadays. I really am. So check that out as well if you're into non-dancing yet still entertaining short videos.
I love that. I'll need to check out your TikTok. I feel like I'm still learning TikTok. I need to get it a bit more. I mean, we do reels a lot, but TikTok, I'm like, wait, how do I put a link? I'm still kind of figuring it out. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. And everybody, make sure to sign up for the Homeschool Mom Summit if you are a homeschool mom, or even if you're a parent who likes to do some supplementing on the side, sign up for that. And we'll put the link in the show notes. And be sure to follow Richie on all the socials for more from her. So Richie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's just a true pleasure just to chat with you about everything homeschool and learning styles and the summit. So, and I'm excited for the next coming weeks while we partner together for the Homeschool Mom Summit.
Thank you so much. And I hope you all enjoyed all these tips about learning styles and the Homeschool Summit. We will talk to you later. If you're enjoying this podcast, be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And if you're ready to take the next step with me, then you are going to love Wife Teacher Mommy Club. Our top selling resources for pre-K through 6th grades have been used and loved by tens of thousands of teachers. And the club gives you one-click access to all of them to meet the needs of every child you teach while saving tons of time. Plus, you'll have our certified life coach in your back pocket with several monthly workshops and an Ask a Coach portal you can use 24/7. The combo of resources and coaching is our secret sauce to your best teacher life. Think of my team and I as your personal team, doing the lesson planning for you and on the sidelines coaching you and cheering you on as you focus on what you do best, impacting the children you teach. Plus, if you're loving this podcast, you'll also have access to our private podcast just for members, where I continue the conversation with all of our guests with members-only bonus episodes. And don't forget the club with VIP access to Educate and Rejuvenate, our summer conference, and our private Facebook community full of like-minded educators supporting each other. You do so much for everyone else, so it's time to invest in yourself. Your teacher friends' jaws will drop when they see just how quickly you finish your planning. Not to mention the glow of the happier, more fulfilled you. Head on over to wifeteachermommyclub.com to learn more.